All right, welcome everybody. Welcome. I do appreciate everyone for stopping by, coming here to it's the best post-game show around, period. So I appreciate you guys being here. Apologies to Arkansas Sports Network. For whatever reason, it is not letting me connect to the Facebook page, so I don't know what's going on. So hopefully we can get this stream downloaded and over to ASN hopefully tonight or maybe sometime this weekend, but I don't know what that's all about, so I do apologize to ASN, to the folks over there who are waiting on this live. I'm going to keep kind of messing with it while I'm doing this. All right, again, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. If you're new here, shout out to SLR. I see you in chat. Ugly win today, he says in all caps. Brother, you're not wrong. That was hideous. Now, I know we're going to get the a win is a win crowd. I get that. But God in heaven, there was probably a legitimate amount of time where you thought Arkansas was going to find a way to screw this game up. So I got a lot to say about this. I cannot wait to see the PFF numbers tomorrow, by the way. Can't wait to see them. Can't wait to see the PFF numbers. This was a debacle, a game that should not – the way this thing started out, you had that long opening drive by UAB. Okay, listen, sometimes that's going to happen. I told you guys, those of you who read the enemy insider on Patreon, these guys can run the ball. They are effective at running the football. They can do that. You gave up a long drive, shouldn't have had it happen, but it did happen. We do have a $20 super chat. Game ball to Jackson, says Robert Bradford. Appreciate the super chat, my friend. Thank you so much. Arky56 says, put in Singleton. I don't know where Green went last. I don't know where that Green that we saw against Oklahoma State. Yeah, with all of his bumps and warts and some of the mistakes that he made, having a hard time with the snaps, missing some easy throws. You remember the wheel route last week? Did not think we would see that expanded upon this week at home against UAB. And yeah, here we are. A lot of what happened and a lot of what unfolded, especially in that opening quarter and most of the second quarter, was Green missing throws. He looked every bit the problem. He looked every bit like those PFF numbers were telling us based on a year ago from Boise State. You remember what I told you guys? KJ Jefferson's numbers, when you talk about deep throws, underneath throws, all of the passing depth numbers, KJ was better. And you could watch highlights of Green and see that there was some problems. This guy has some issues. But Bobby Petrino's got the magical wand, don't you know? Bobby Petrino has the magical wand. So those issues are not going to come up. Thought at least you could scheme around some of his issues. And we certainly saw that last week. It's not to say that the guy doesn't make plays with his feet. It's not to say that he missed all night. No, he didn't. I wouldn't give him an F, but damn, son, it wouldn't be a good grade. I'm curious again to see what PFF has to say. Shout out to Patreon supporters. I appreciate you guys. You help make this thing possible. I do appreciate it. If you guys want to join Patreon, please consider doing so. The link is down below in the description. I'm going to share that link with you here in just a second, unless I have a mod beat me to it. But there is Patreon. I should have ads turned off. Hopefully I do. Sponsors, Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company, same-day services, quality parts, affordable outcomes. Give them a call at 501-244-3667. Again, that's Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company, same-day services, quality parts. They've got your back, man. They've got you. They operate out of Central Arkansas and in Northwest Arkansas. Insurance Max, they offer business, personal, life and health insurance, retirement. They shop the best rates for you. They cover Arkansans from corner to corner here in our wonderful state in Arkansas. Check out their link, provided for you down below. See what they can do for you. Auburn 35, Arkansas 14 next week, says Earthman. You just don't know what to expect in college football anymore. And that's not to say that that's exactly what happened today, because what we saw happen today, guys, we've seen happen the previous 2 years. Let's not sit here and, like I said in the halftime show in Tusk Talk Discord, we've seen this before. We've seen Sam Pitman teams play down to teams that they should beat the hell out of, teams that they should just whoop, no matter how they looked the week before. Close game, win, loss, whatever. If it was close, doesn't matter. That next week, sometimes you just really don't know what you're going to get. And I get that UAB, listen, before you start making excuses for UAB, oh, well, they've got SEC talent, Ty. They've got some playmakers, former 4-stars, and all. Look at this. They've got SEC players on both sides of the ball, Ty. Did you see what they didn't do against ULM? Did you watch any of that game? Did you see the highlights? Have you read the stat sheet? There's no reason for what happening today. Now, you could say, and I know that this is a pretty common thing, like, oh, well, they overlooked. And I agree. I think they did overlook UAB to an extent. But then you got to explain to me some of the missed throws, the silly penalties happening once again, all those face masks. No discipline. Maybe not zero, but low discipline. How about that? I know someone's going to nitpick. I've got people nitpicking about things I say in shows. Which Texarkana? Come on, dude. You know it was a mishap. Shit happens. Man, when you do these shows an hour plus uninterrupted, you're going to make a mistake from time to time. Just deal with it. I'm not going to make a mistake here when I say that what happened tonight was completely avoidable. And you don't overlook teams. You don't overlook good teams. You don't overlook bad teams. You don't overlook Group of 5, FCS, FBS. I don't care. You got 12 games, dude, to get it right. 12. It was embarrassing. That first half was the biggest shit show I've ever seen. Now, I will say the defense did their part in the second half. You outscored them something like 27-3 at one point. You bared down. You did. You made some adjustments. You remember that was one of our complaints last week. They started to run the football more. They were doing that in the first half. They caught on because Bobby Petrino is your offensive coordinator. He knows we need to stick to what works. And guess what? Running the football works on these guys. They've got some playmakers in the secondary, man. Unfortunately, we just didn't have a lot of content to go back and watch and really get a good idea of what UAB. But I think their secondary is pretty damn good. Okay, they came into this game allowing just the second fewest. Someone asked me about that, and I said, well, a lot of it's because teams have figured out they could run the ball on these guys, and they do that. That's exactly what has been the case. However, what we saw tonight was them making plays in the secondary. And then a lot of it, too, was just Green. To be honest with you, I think it was more Green, more the receivers dropping balls. I'm looking at you, Broden. What the hell? Armstrong even had a drop, but that's okay because Armstrong balled the hell out. Thank you, God, for Andrew Armstrong. Thank you, God, for Andrew Armstrong. Even Luke Tesla had that drop. Now, fortunately, you got bailed out. There was a flag. Apparently, there was some holding. I didn't see it. But he still should have caught it. The ball hit him in the hands, and what if the ref didn't bail him out? We've seen worse not get called. It's just the same thing, dude. These are the consequences of keeping Sam Pitman. There are good consequences, like bringing in Bobby Petrino and completely changing your offense. You know, getting some playmakers like Jaquindon Jackson, who's here because of Petrino. Getting some of these guys on the offensive line, which were obvious upgrades. Getting some key pieces to the linebacker core in the secondary because of Travis Williams. Well, who hired Travis Williams and who hired that staff? Well, you know who, Sam Pitman. There are some good reasons as to why you brought him back for a fifth year. And then there's games like today. These things happen. He's as much a double-edged sword head coach as Taylen Green is as a quarterback. We know now, like, we were willing, and I'll admit it, I'm fully guilty, especially after Oklahoma State, even though there were some bumps and bruises, there were some warts. I thought, damn, dude, this guy had a lot of offense, kept the offense going, was able to scramble and make plays with his feet and with his arm against a quality opponent at their house, a ranked, possibly playoff contender. But yet we saw all the things that were bad last week expanded upon, blown up in this game against UAB. I hope this was just them overlooking. I hope this was them, and it's not an excuse. It's not a good one. You don't want this. If you're the head coach, if you're Bobby Petrino, if you're Travis Williams, you don't want that, but here you are. Another thing people aren't griping enough about, the secondary. Do they know how to tackle? Like, what was that? The third or fourth score? I don't remember. Kind of late. I want to say in the maybe it was in the fourth quarter. The corners just gave up on the tackle, and the guy just kind of swung himself into the end zone. I know they were probably going for the strip, but it just looked like something you expect to see watching Kiwanis third grade football. Where was the tackling? Where was the physicality with this team? Not that everyone was playing this way, not that everyone wasn't playing physical, but these guys in the secondary at times looked horrible. Looked like they didn't know how to tackle or wrap up anybody. The face mask guys, you're lucky they didn't get hit with about 3 more face mask penalties, I'll say that. Pass rush is still mostly non-existent until, the end there, which resulted in, guess what? An interception. Who would have thought? This team has so many red flags. I hope, because there were some from the Oklahoma State game. Remember, we talked about this. There were some red flags or almost red flags. Now I'm willing to say the secondary is a red flag. The lack of pass rush consistently, red flag. Green, he's just a double-edged sword. He's going to make plays for you, and he's also probably going to turn the ball over. He's also going to make some bonehead mistakes. I don't know. You're going to have to, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. That's what Green is. And like I said in our halftime chat today, again in Tusk Talk Discord, I said, if he carries this kind of baggage with him, I don't know that Oklahoma State, maybe that was still in his head. That's why 0 for 5 with an interception on his first 5 throws. Horrible. He did get it together. A lot of that because of Bobby Petrino play calling. And I think he did start throwing the ball a little bit better. Then the receivers started dropping the ball, almost like they were surprised to be getting thrown open. I don't know. But if he plays this way against Auburn and it becomes a trend, we're going to have a legitimate quarterback battle. Now, Green's athleticism, Green's ability to make big plays with his feet, and at times even with his arm. I mean, you see him, he could pull out of the pocket, run around like Matt Jones used to, just kind of run around, then find somebody open downfield. He made a couple really nice throws. But I've seen Malachi do some stuff too in practice. We saw it in spring camp and fall camp. This isn't like KJ Jefferson and Criswell, whereas you felt like the talent dropped quite a bit with Criswell compared to KJ. However, the X factor there was Dan Enos, right? It didn't really matter who played quarterback. Malachi is someone who, again, if Green can't get out of this funk, and really, I don't know, like this is the first game where you really look at it and you go, holy crap, we might have a problem here with him. He can make plays, but he can also make some crazy decisions that lead to turnovers or just bonehead mistakes. But if the negative starts to show its face more consistently, you struggle to move the ball downfield. Not that they were ever completely stopped, but if that continues and the offense starts to stall, I think we might start having the conversation of there being a quarterback battle. At the moment, I don't think there is. I really don't. At the moment. But if this keeps going, maybe the put in Singleton crowd might have an argument if they can't, if we see more of what we saw today, the bad side of what we saw today, and there was a lot of it. Again, I think we could be having a conversation. You can't let what happened today happen again. Fortunately, you were able to out-talent UAB and find a way through this game. Let me read Super Chat. I know we got several. Again, I appreciate everyone for being here. This is the best post-game show around, no matter where you're watching, how you're watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Now accepting applications for all positions is David Dalton. Hey, your kicker, what was he, was he 2 of 3? Did Ty really just say that? What did I say? Which part? You're gonna have to be more specific, Steven. 1383. I probably did though. Arky56 says should be 3-0. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Should have beat the hell out of UAB and it didn't happen. Again, you're thankful for a win. I get that. Hog Homer says the wide receiver room is Armstrong, and that's it. No matter what you saw, no matter what I filmed, in spring and fall camp. Broden, who looked like a baller. I never saw the guy put the ball on the floor, on the field. Never saw him drop a pass. Maybe one. This is what we always talk about. What happens in camp has to reflect on the field. You got to be great. And I thought maybe this year would be the year because Broden looked pretty damn good. And today, he showed us there's probably a legitimate wide receiver battle as well. Where was Centania today? Why was this guy not getting fed more? Why is Luke Haas not getting fed more? What's going on? There's something weird about this offense, even though for the most part it's worked. But there's still something weird going on. Maybe Green. Maybe it is Green. Coming out lackluster is not acceptable anymore, says Tercer with the $2 super chat. By the way, David Dalton's was a $2 super chat as well. Well, where'd it go? There's another one. It's looking like Vandy, Auburn, and Mississippi State are gonna be having tough games as well. And everyone is capable of that. And we've talked about how much the portal has affected college football. You don't know anything anymore. You used to say, well, after about 2 or 3 games, as long as you've played one competitive, maybe a ranked opponent, you typically know what you have going into like week 3, week 4. I don't know that you know anything until you're almost mid-season. That's what's crazy about all of this. It is just the truth. It's the way the portal and NIL has just made things wild. I kind of welcome it. It is kind of fun. Until what you're watching unfolds like we saw today. Fortunately, Arkansas found a way. That is what matters. Finding a way matters. I hear you. I know. Again, I could hear the rage typing. Ty, they won. That's all that matters. They won, Ty. A win is a win. Red flags still exist, my friend. Red flags still exist. We saw signs early last year like, hold on. Oh, Ty, they're going to be fine. 4-8. Red flags exist no matter when they happen. And if they consistently keep happening, you got a problem. Broden has the yips. It's in his head. Well, John, sometimes there's guys that are practice heroes and then they when the lights are on, they just don't show up. This was the same case last year with Broden, except he did have a legitimate he was struggling with injuries. And which is kind of why I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. There we go. I think Facebook is finally up. I apologize to ASN Facebook. I have no idea what that was all about. It would not connect to OBS. Looks like it's trying to now. There we go. Welcome, ASN Facebook. Again, I apologize for OBS, the online broadcast software, would not connect to Facebook, but we got it going. So welcome. If you're watching over there, please like and share this video. I promise I'm going to do a better job of reading your comments. We had Hog Tunes leave a comment on the last one. I didn't read it until later. Tremendously large red flag, says Unbiased Brim. Doesn't look good for SEC play. James Swope says Green is 50% of the problem, and then he's also 50% of the solution. That's what I mean by double-edged sword. He could pick up those third down and longs with his feet. Hell, he can run out of the pocket and make plays with his arm. It doesn't help when he finally starts throwing a little bit better ball, then your receivers start dropping the passes. What the hell happened? I will say for the third straight game, Arkansas over 420 total yards of offense, which anymore is almost like, whatever, especially when you play, who you've played other than Oklahoma State. Let's look at this box score here really quick. Let's talk about Jacob Zino. Jacob Zino threw the ball 32 times. He completed 23 of them. 3 touchdowns. I just thought it was almost too easy for him. Those check down throws, which should have only gone for 4 or 5 yards, they went for 8, 9, 10, 12 yards. Tackling is a concern. I saw some people in Discord say, you know what? I don't know what's going on with Travis Williams, but he's slipping on me a little bit. He's slipping. I'm not saying that that's fair or that it's not fair, that I condone or whatever. But we saw some of this again last year when the defense just looked like they let go of the rope. And it certainly kind of looked like the case a little bit tonight, although they weren't getting a lot of help in other areas. Isaiah Jacobs, 15 carries, 62 yards. That's 4.1 yards a carry. Their longest run from the line of scrimmage was 15 yards. It was Lee Beebe Jr. who had – Arkansas did a pretty good job at containing Beebe. They really did. This is a guy that last year averaged over 7 yards a carry. He had 12 carries for 43 yards, under 4 yards a carry at 3.6. Amar Thomas, I thought, was going to have a little bit better day, to be honest with you. He had 5 catches, just 56 yards and a touchdown. Dallas Payne and Cam Shanks. Shanks is fast. All due respect. Cam Shanks, that dude, he can move. 5 catches, 31 yards. He also had a touchdown. Dude, that is a big-ass mosquito. Oh, my God. Bro. That's the size of – look at this dude. That's the size of a Delta mosquito. Golly. Bro, I'm scared now. I got a bloodsucker flying around me. I'm going to have all these bumps up and down my arm. Their leading tackler, remember I told you guys about Sareed Bryant. This guy is a tackle gobbler. That's what he is. He had 8 tackles tonight. They got in your backfield a little bit. 3 sacks, 4 TFLs. Now, let's move over to Arkansas side of things. Taylen Green. Oh, boy, 11 of 26, 161 yards. That's just good enough for just north of 6 yards per completion. No touchdowns, 1 interception. Running the ball, Arkansas had all kinds of success. Once again, you better not. He's flying down. You better be careful, son. 15 carries, 147 yards for Jaquindon Jackson. 1 touchdown, 9.8 yards per carry. Taylen Green, 17 carries, 96 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. Jaquindon had 1. Rodney Hill, we got to see him a little bit. 3 carries, 23 yards. That's 7.7. I told you guys, their run defense is cheeks. And Arkansas's run offense is good. Braylon Russell had a carry. He got his first career touchdown. 1 carry. Wait. That wasn't his first career touchdown. It was his second, right? Didn't he have one against UAPB? Why does that game feel like 6 months ago? 1 carry, 2 yards for a touchdown. We didn't get to see him after that. Receiving, again, this shouldn't surprise anybody. This was such a big deal getting him back. We talked about how good Andrew was before and after his hamstring issue in fall camp. He came back. It's like he never missed a beat. It's the same thing. He missed the game against UAPB, and since he's been back, what has he caught? 18, 19 catches or something? He had 137 yards tonight with a 29-yarder under his belt. Centennia, I think he was only targeted 3 times. He caught 2 of 16. Jaquindon Jackson caught 1 of 8. I just not good. Like these numbers, man. And he missed. Taylen Green just – God, he missed tonight. And he did have a fumble. Once again, we said they need to play clean. It wasn't clean. He had the fumble. Fortunately, he did recover it. Steven Dix tonight had the most tackles. He had 10. Jaden Johnson had 10. I thought Jaden actually played pretty well. I'll be very curious. Now, his tackle grade, maybe not superb, but he did end up with a TFL. You never know with PFF. You think one thing, and then they show you something different. Xavion Sorey tonight had 8 tackles. Here's where it gets just silly. Now, if these numbers hold up, guys, this is one of the major red flags. 1 sack, 2 TFLs. I say again, 1 sack, 2 TFLs against UAB. What? These guys gave up like 4 sacks to ULM. Red flag. I'm going to call it right now. The pass rush is cheeks, bro. It's cheeks, chat. It's cheeks. I don't know what else to tell you. So many face mask penalties. Should have had more. Should have had like 3 more. 2 at least. So many face mask penalties. So many bad handling the ball on snaps. Too many bad throws and drops when Green actually threw the ball well. I know, it's like a perfect storm. Undisciplined. Unprepared. Overlooking an opponent, man. And that's weird that we just overlooked them. That's weird to me. You shouldn't be happy with that. You get 12 games. You mess one of them up. You already lost the one against Oklahoma State, and your seat's already warm. Well, some of you believe he would have been fired off the field today had he lost. I don't think that would have happened, but it damn sure would have. Oh Lord, could you imagine if you lost this and you went into the gauntlet coming up and you lost a couple more? It'd be over. You know, I mean, they say he's going to lead. They'll keep him until his contract, which would be up, I guess, or his extension probably comes down in December, but it already dropped quite a bit last year. From if that was correct, if I read that right, I don't know. I right now I find it doubtful that they fire him like earlier than expected. I find that doubtful, but I just don't know how this unfolds. You just cannot let what happened, especially in the 2 quarters in the opening half. You can't do that against these teams you've got coming up. You cannot do it. What else is frustrating about this game, if you look at the team stats, this should not ever happen, and it did. It did. And UAB was so confident that they would convert on the 4th down. They tried behind, I think, what was it, their own 30-yard line. They were so confident they were going to be able to do it, and they did it. UAB went 3 for 3 on 4th down, and again, one of those was on their own side of the field, which would have completely flipped the field, which could have ended the game right there, really. I mean, it would have if Arkansas had been able to take advantage and score had they not converted. And he went for it. Trent Dilfer was like, "Are you kidding me? That's an SEC defensive line? No, I'm good. We'll go for it." And they did. 100%. 1 of 1 is okay, whatever. 2 of 2, all right, all right, whatever. 3 of 3 in the balls on that guy. And it worked out. And he went down. What happened on that drive? They went down the field and they scored. Red flags all over this defense. I'm not saying that they're going to give up 40 points a game. I'm not saying that. They've got some fighters. They got some playmakers on defense. They got a lot of contributors, and if maybe 2 playmakers. They don't have any difference makers on defense. None. They don't have a difference maker. Landon Jackson, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I don't know how he did versus the run. Again, PFF's going to be really good about breaking that down. I'll take a look at that. We'll obviously rewatch the game tomorrow. But Landon Jackson, man, you look so good in fall camp. You look the part. Anton Jukic looked the part. Nico Davier looked the part. And they're not getting it done. Pass rush is really non-existent these last 2 weeks. We got another super chat. Remember how we had the best pass rush in program history in 2022, says Poinkle. Josh Garr says, "Ty, this performance let the air out of the balloon from that 70-point game. Once again, I'm let down and pissed off." Well, UAPB is UAPB. You should have been able to score it at will on them, and they did. They went 10 for 10. You shouldn't have expected what happened against UAPB to be the same thing ever. Really, the Oklahoma State game showed promise, and at the same time, it put a mirror in your face. It was like, yeah, you weren't prepared for this game to close it out. You played nice. You started off nice. The first half was great, but you didn't know how to close the game out. And luckily you did today, but it was against UAB. I mean, Unbiased Brim, I like your graphics for the shows. I see improvement. Thank you. If only our football team could show improvement. Well, shout out to Travis Ford. He's responsible for everything you see on this screen. He does great work. He's awesome. He helps. The thumbnails are all him. For the post games, those are all him. All those crappy other ones with the white background, those are me. They're not very good. Ty, you knew we'd have a letdown after OK State. You knew we'd have a letdown. You wonder how much of that game lingered around. How much of what happened lingered. And did they overlook UAB? I'm sure all those things are applicable. I'm sure all those things took a part into what we saw happen tonight. They struggled putting these guys away. Fortunately, they did. Once they got back up, once they went up 37-27, you knew, like, all right, they should be fine. You got a little bit of pass rush there in the end. You forced the turnover. But there's just so many things here. And, they had 10 penalties. You talk about shooting yourselves in the foot. 10 penalties for 109 yards. You take away just 2 or 3 of those. What kind of conversation are we having right now? Arkansas just 6 for 65. Now, that's still 10-plus yards per penalty, but, still it wasn't 10 for 109. 10 penalties for the length of the field and then some. That's more than the length of the freaking end zone. I think, 8 yards? 10 penalties for 109 yards? You just take away 2 or 3 of those penalties, we might be having a different discussion. They were 5 of 15. This is an area I think our defense has actually looked pretty good. They were 5 of 15. We already talked about what they did on fourth down. They had 354 total yards, 235 through the air. They had 119 yards rushing, which, all right, whatever, off 35 attempts, which is just 3.4. I mean, that's fine. Both teams had a turnover. Arkansas was 7 of 12 on third down. They have been, I mean, they're a pretty good third down offense, and a lot of that is it's Taylen Green. That's what I'm talking about. There's 50% good, and then there's 50% bad. You know, and listen, he stepped up when you needed him to. When things started to look really bad, he started playing better. After that interception, and then after a couple other missed throws, a couple high throws, and then he started to play better. I don't lay what happened at his feet, but he was certainly a part of the issue tonight, and you just can't do that in SEC play. We all know that. You know that. I know that. Hell, my dog Merlin, he knows that. Merlin, Gandalf, Dumbledore, Hudson, wherever he is. 161 yards passing, but you know what? You found a way on the ground. You exploited UAB's inability. They're just not physical enough. They don't have the Jimmies and Joes to stop your run game, and you stuck to it. And that is a good – that's Bobby Petrino. That's his fingerprints all over that, right? That's his fingerprints. He found a weakness. He probably knew that before going in, but he realized the passing game wasn't working. We got to run the ball, and that's what he did. And they dominated. They dominated on the ground. Again, 266 yards rushing, 7 yards per carry. And you don't blame them for trying to throw the ball, for trying to open up the other end of the offense. Again, that is Bobby. That's what he wants to do. He wants it to be pretty balanced, but by God, if he's got to throw it, he's going to throw it. If he's got to run it, he's got to run it. That's a sign of a competent offensive coordinator, something you didn't have last year. You also had a quarterback that wasn't a drop-back passer. Taylen Green can get it done in the pocket, but I feel he's pretty good about just making it up as he goes. I mean, there was a play tonight where he's running around. And he thought, oh, God, I don't know what's going to happen. And he throws a complete pass. He threw a sideline throw today that was actually pretty good, like the only one this year. Maybe one of two. It was like on the money. The other one was dropped by Broden. I'm really curious what the drop numbers are. I don't think ESPN won't have them, but, dude, it's got to be 4 or more. And that's just being polite because, you know, sometimes instead of a drop, they just give credit for a pass breakup. But it felt like, yeah, he got me. I'm itching. That son of a bitch. That mosquito got me. Little bloodsucker. I'm going to find him and I'm going to kill him. I just got flagged by YouTube, I bet. Being polite is saying they had 4 drops. Realistically, it's more. It's more. Maybe we should just run all our plays out of Wild Hog style with JJ, TG, and MS on the field. Yeah, well, you're gonna have to get creative. You're gonna have to get creative. He wasn't great, but he's still good. Who are you talking about? Just not a good game for him. We saw last week more good than we saw bad versus Oklahoma State. Now they were key moments when it wasn't great for Green. Tonight the bad was expanded upon. I mean, you go back to the first half, guys, it was brutal. And he was missing guys, overthrowing guys. How do you overthrow Broden? Like, how do you do that? That guy is 6'6", 6'7". You know, and he did that last week where the receivers are having to jump 10 feet in the air to make the catch. His ball placement is problematic. It's problematic. But then you saw another side of him tonight where he's actually getting the ball up where Bobby wants it, up near the helmet, right? Near the face mask. Mississippi State down to Toledo 14-0. Well, that's good. His mechanics are off bad, says Ty Brannon. I still have a little bit of an issue. There he is. I just found him. There he is. Oh, did I get him? Dude, he's big. He's been sucking on some blood in this house. I bet one of the dogs brought him in. Broden alone had 4 drops. Now, again, I was being nice. I was being nice. Again, sometimes they'll give a defender credit for the pass breakup when, in fact, it was just a drop. We might get bailed out, though. Wait, we might get called out this year because Mississippi State and Auburn are not good teams. I don't know what to make of LSU. LSU really probably should have lost that game today to SC. I watched quite a bit of that. Mosquito from Birmingham. Dude, he's a biggin. He looks like he's from the Delta. I hear over in the Delta those things get like huge. Titus Green remind you of Felipe Franks. Well, the Felipe Franks we saw, he's not near as the athlete as Green is. He's not near the athlete that Green is. And I would even dare say that Green can make some pretty crazy throws out of the pocket while running. Unfortunately, Felipe, he was coming out of that injury that he had at Florida. I don't know. Sometimes I thought he felt like he was they were holding him back. Like I always thought we could have gotten more out of Felipe. Appreciate the super chats, boys. Only saving grace is Pitman's teams play better on the road than they do at home. They did last year, and so the question is going to be, is it going to be enough to find a way to get a win on the road? Is it going to be enough? It'd be great to go down there and to get a win over Auburn, and then you got A&M after that. How wonderful would that be? How fun, right? I hope what we saw today, again, and it's weird to say this, and I don't mean it to sound the way that it does, but I do hope this was the outcome of overlooking an opponent. Just kind of typical Pitman coach team. They just kind of overlook. They kind of play down to a team. Missouri State wasn't all that long ago, coached by you-know-who. Remember South Carolina in Fayetteville had a little bit of a tough time putting that one away. I mean, you never really felt like they were going to lose it, but, they did manage to keep that one close. Cincinnati, right? Cincinnati, you kind of struggled. You felt like you were going to blow that one open, and you couldn't. That is just – you have those kind of games, and UAB is nowhere near as good as any of them. Maybe better than Missouri State, because Missouri State that year went on to lose like the next 4 or 5 games, but UAB is not a very good football team. I don't think they look pretty good. For the most part, they look pretty good tonight. They look like they wanted it more. They look like they were energized. They were in it. You saw that running back after his first several carries. The guy was jumping up and down, and he was feeling it, man. He was all in it. Arkansas came out so flat, like they didn't want to be there. You got to coach these guys up, man. They've got to want to be there. They got to be hungry for every play, every series, every single game. Should be playing down to your opponent. You got to be beating the hell out of a team like UAB. Again, give them credit. They were hungry. They wanted it, man. And that's Trent Dilfer. That's him. I'm not saying he's a great coach, but he certainly got those guys hungry. He knew what buttons to push, what to say to get them ready for this one. They were ready. They weren't scared. I saw the cameras pan over the stadium. So many empty seats, man. Yeah, it's UAB. I get it. Arkansas just came off a loss last weekend. You do wonder about the energy. It was the same thing in Little Rock. I know they reported, 39,000 or 40,000. How many people were actually there? Were those tickets scanned? What's the actual ticket scanned number, right? That's the concern moving forward. You've got to do something. You got to get a win somewhere you're not supposed to get. You got to re-energize this fan base. And you can do it this year. You can. As long as the better outshines the bad. As long as the good side of green, that's expanded upon. We see more of that and less of what we saw in that first half and some of it in the second half from green. Same with the receivers. Got to step up for your quarterback, man. I mean, they did not help the guy out. Reminds me of Kent State last year. A lot of red flags, says Hog Homer. Bobby Swain says, really, I thought it was full. Well, they showed someone posted a picture of the crowd and the other side of the stadium. It didn't look very good. A lot of empty seats. Now, this was, I think, going into the third quarter, so maybe those fans are at the concession stands. I don't know. Ty Brand says, we were so quiet. We blew our momentum last week. We must not forget that Bobby Petrino was a Hail Mary hire to keep the money flowing in for season tickets. Ty, we all know we still got work to do, and we won this game. So who's going to get the chain for the day? Well, I'm getting there. Just hang on, Mike Smith from Little Rock or El Dorado. I don't know. That sounds like a very Central South Arkansas attitude. Just pipe down a minute, Mike. I'm getting there, okay? Ty, great offensive defense. God, I don't know. Offense would probably be a C-. I mean, you do like the way they responded on both sides of the ball. They did start to play a little bit, I don't want to say cleaner, but they started to play better ball. I don't know. That's tough. I'd have to rewatch it and give you a grade. Thinking about it, maybe a C-. Defense, I don't know, dude. D+. I mean, they did respond. They did They made great second half adjustments, so maybe not a D. I don't know, dude. This is a tough one to grade. My hope is Rice 2021. Reality looks Kent State 2023. All right. It might be D- on both sides of the ball. I don't know. We're gonna do Mike Smith the favor. We're just gonna get. I mean, listen, we're only 40 minutes in. Who gets the gold chain? Who do you guys think should get the gold chain? Again, let's talk about these numbers really quick. Jaquindon Jackson, 15 carries, 147 yards for nearly 10 yards a carry with a touchdown. You can't give it to. I don't think Taylen can be I don't think he can be a finalist. His slow start, his missed passes, he just can't be a finalist. You do appreciate 17 carries, 96 yards. He only threw one pick. It felt like he was going to throw more after that first one, but, again, they tightened up a little bit. Andrew Armstrong, 8 catches, 137 yards. On defense, Landon Jackson did have half of a sack. He had 0.5 TFLs. He also had a pass breakup, but I don't think he can be a finalist. Steven Dix was your leading tackler at 10. Jaden Johnson, I thought, looked pretty good, and he had a TFL, 10 tackles with a TFL. Am I missing somebody here? Brad Spence, golly, that dude's quick. Did you see that sack that he had? Damn, that dude looks like he's shot out of a cannon. He had 5 tackles. He had the sack with the TFL. Who do you guys think should get the chain? Bradley Dixon says offensive line. I don't know, man. I need to rewatch the offensive line. I thought there were a few times there where they kind of got busted up in pass pro, but boy, they opened up some pretty big gaps, right? They opened up some pretty big gaps for the run game. There's no doubt about it. Farrell says Armstrong or Jackson. Longshank says Jackson. James Swope says it's Armstrong or Jackson. They carried easy. Yeah, I mean, those are the two guys. I agree. I'm going to go Jaquindon Jackson. Jaquindon Jackson going to get the gold chain tonight. 15 carries, 147 yards. He had the touchdown, 9.8 yards a carry. That's a big deal. That's a big number no matter who you're playing against. So shout out, congrats to Jaquindon Jackson getting it done. Couldn't have done it without the blocking. I fully agree with that. Offensive line definitely in the mix as far as their run block. I thought was really good. But Jaquindon just looked – you couldn't tackle him. One-on-one, nobody could bring that guy down. He just looked the part once again. He's yet to have a game where you're thinking, man, do we have a run game? You have a run game, and it's because of him. It's because of Jaquindon. Absolute monster. Armstrong is a very close second place, 8 catches, 137 yards. That's 17 yards per reception. He had the 29-yarder, which was the longest completion beyond the line of scrimmage in the pass game. But Jaquindon had that 28-yard run with the touchdown. Both those guys were huge today, but it's going to Jaquindon. Absolutely. Nelly Davis about to get that gold chain so much. It doesn't shock me for someone whose name is Nelly Davis for 3. Cheesy Skull says Bobby Petrino. I do appreciate that he switched it up when he realized they were struggling in the pass game. I do appreciate that, but I kind of felt like early on, like some of the play calling, I don't know. It just felt, I'm not really sure. Maybe it had a lot to do with UAB, and you wonder too with that long drive that they had coming out, their first drive to open the game up. What was it? 15 plays for a bunch of minutes, 7 minutes or something. It was longer than that. Mike Smith says, "Laugh out loud, my bad time with you all the way. Do your thing." Mike out of Malvern. He's out of Malvern. Mike Smith's out of Malvern. All right, Mike, you are forgiven, my friend. Fun fact: UCF is getting spanked on the road at TCU. Wow. Oh, boy. Put in Criswell, UCF. Put him in. Kentucky's leading Georgia. I've got that game on the screen right now, 3-0, and they've got the ball. Oh, boy. Boy, Georgia's still quick up front, though. Good Lord. They got so much team speed. Oregon versus Auburn is going to be the suck ball. I was talking about this in the Discord halftime where Petrino, no, it was a Marco Polo conversation. Even when Petrino was the coach, Arkansas always had that one game that just, God, what are they doing, And you fans freaked out. Imagine if Twitter, God, imagine if I was doing a post-game show then back in 2009, 2008. But he had games, especially within his first 2 years, you just shook your head and you thought maybe this isn't going to work after all. I'm hoping maybe that's what today was. You still found a way to win, which matters, and he did then too, by the way. That's what matters. You won. You won the game, 37-27. I think everyone thought Arkansas was going to score. I thought they were going to put up 45, 50 points, if not more. I thought they were going to be able to contain UAB. Hopefully on both sides of the ball, this is the first time they just really had a wake-up call, which is weird because you just played Oklahoma State and you lost that game. I don't know. Again, there are red flags. They're there. The red flags are there. You've got to do a lot now to convince everybody that, all right, really our pass rush is pretty good. Don't look at the first 3 games. Our secondary can actually tackle. We can not grab somebody's face mask on every freaking play, not get silly penalties. A lot of silly mental errors the last 2 weeks. And again, they didn't cost you because of who you played today. That's why they didn't cost you as much. But the silly mental errors are the things that are we get it now. That's just, we talk about the pros and cons of Sam coming back. That's one of the cons. I don't think the clock management, I know they burned a timeout, which was strange. I think it was to start off one of their, what was that, in the third quarter. And they just came out off their kick return and they burned a timeout. And I don't know what that was. I mean, sometimes you just, whatever. Maybe there was wrong communication between the sidelines. I don't know. But for the most part, I don't think clock management was bad. There's just so many mental errors. And that's 2 weeks in a row where you feel like, man, well, this week alone, had you played somebody better, they probably cost you. Luckily, you didn't have a lot of penalties, didn't have a lot of flags. There is something to be excited about, though. You are above 500. You have a winning record for the moment. We'll see if they can keep that going on the road at Auburn. Auburn right now, and this will probably change, I don't know, but Auburn at 55.5% favored to win that game. Okay, 55.5. Again, I think some people read into that incorrectly. They view that as ESPN saying you're just not going to win this game. I don't think that's it at all. I think it's like a 9 times out of 10 or 7 times 6, 5 times, 5.5 times out of 10. UAB probably, or Auburn probably wins this game. That's kind of how I think it's supposed to be. I could be wrong. That's a pretty good number on the road, 44.5%. I mean, that's a really good number. In this league, especially considering the last 2 weeks, again, this could change. It could be the toilet bowl next week. I don't know. We do have, you guys are talking about scores. We have scores here. Ole Miss up on Wake Forest 23-6. That's it's the Lane Kiffin effect, man. I mean, tough pill to swallow, but 23-6. Texas up on UTSA at halftime, 28-7. Vanderbilt losing to Georgia State right now at halftime, 12-10. Of course, Georgia, which is the game on the screen here to my left, Kentucky's up 3-0 in the second quarter. Auburn up on New Mexico, 17-13. This is an 0-2 New Mexico team. Hell, it wouldn't matter if it was a 2-0 New Mexico team. 17-13 is Auburn's lead. 8:45 left to go in the half. Toledo up on Mississippi State, 14-3. And Tennessee up on Kent State, 37-0 in the bottom of the first quarter. I said it last week. Kent State's not any good. I get that, but God in heaven, 37-0. Alabama beat Wisconsin today, 42-10. Missouri on top of Boston College. That was a ball game for a little bit. I got to catch some of that. I'm not overly impressed with Cook. He just looks like the most mediocre quarterback. But he made some plays today, 27-21 over Boston College, who's 24th in the country. Oklahoma 34, Tulane 19, LSU on top of South Carolina 36-33. A&M over Florida. Don't tell Courtney. Of course, we all know she's very well aware. 33-20 down in the swamp. Texas A&M took care of business. Ty, next week's game will be who shoots themselves in the foot the least. You're probably not wrong. It's going to be sloppy, full of flags, and go down to a field goal, says Manny C. Manny might be on to something there. Manny might be on to something. Oh, no. ASN didn't go live. Oh, no. I may have to do a separate stream just for ASN. Dang. Okay. I don't know what the deal was. Yeah, there's something going on there. Tennessee scares me, says Hero Blake, that home game. Tennessee's good. I mean, they're just good. They've got it figured out. They're rocking and rolling. Richard Miller says Gold Chain, Dave Van Horn. Megan says Vandy needs to do better. Appreciate all the live chats, all the super chats. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 super chats tonight. Only saving grace. Yeah, we already read that. Travis Adair said only saving grace is Pitman's team play better. Pitman's teams play better on the road. And he also said my hope is Rice 2021. Reality looks like Kent. That's a pretty good point. Kent State 2023. Robert Bradford, who's also a member, he called it with the $20 super chat. He was right. Game ball to Jaquindon Jackson. That's right. He got it. That's who got the game ball, absolutely. Very fortunate to have Armstrong on this team. Don't know what the passing game would have looked like without him. A lot more drop balls. I know that much. A lot more drop balls. Very, very unfortunate. All these drop passes. It's always a what could have been, right? What could have been? Last week, you had that drop. Broden dropped that ball in the back of the end zone. Should have been a score. Beautiful throw by Green. Beautiful. Should be 3-0 headed into Auburn, but no, we just couldn't let that happen, says Bobby Swain. Would you trade Lane for Pitt right now? I'm going to leave that to chat to answer that question. Hero Blake says the only silver lining is Auburn, LSU, and A&M look bad too. Yeah, you're not wrong. They don't look great. I know that. James says maybe Green needs to get with other receivers and build something. Well, I mean, here's the thing, though, James. I saw him throw balls to everyone in camp. There's just some guys you get comfortable with as a quarterback. There are some receivers, some players around you that you get comfortable with. There's some players that you just, you're on the same page. You're in sync. And I just, when you don't have faith, like Broden is lucky to get the targets that he gets sometimes, right? I mean, he's dropping passes. The guy's got to have 6 drops this year already. That's horrible. So you start to lose trust in that guy. So now you're going to find somebody else who's almost a guarantee, and that's Andrew Armstrong. I think he had 1 drop today, and I don't even know if that'll go down as his fault or not. Again, I'm very curious to see what the drops look like once the dust settles. Some of these stat sheets, they update. I'm very curious to see what that looks like. And we'll have a better picture on Monday as to just exactly what happened tonight. But, again, it was a disappointing first half, and they did recover. You've got to respect that. It wasn't all atrocious, right? It just was a lot of bad moments that collected that collected up, and then you were able to overcome it. But 42% completion ratio for Green. See, if you look at Razorbacks, if you look at their site, it tells you there's no drop. It says Armstrong didn't have, they don't give him credit for the drop, and they don't show Broden because Broden didn't make a catch. So Broden doesn't even pull up. I told you, they'll be conservative. It's always funny how that happens. You'll think they have 5 or 6 drops. You'll look at the stat sheet and they'll say, well, no, really, they had like 3. It felt like a hell of a lot more. I think everybody that watched that game, they know what happened. A lot of drop balls, a lot of missed opportunities. It's part of it, man. You got to clean up these mistakes. We'll see if they can do that. Rico says Tesla is next. What do you mean by that? Good players don't want to come to Arkansas. It's just that simple, especially with the history we've had recently. High schoolers aren't going to look at Arkansas and say, I want to go there. Well, JD, I mean, it's a little more complicated than that. It's not just, I'm going to tell you, it's more about what are the odds, first off, what am I going to get NIL, right? And then it's what are the odds you're going to get me to the NFL? What are the odds that we're going to put together a good product on the field and I'm going to be a contributor to that. That's what recruiting is like. It's not just, well, you can't win games right now. That does play a role. It does. I'm not saying that it doesn't. But the other things that I just stated are pretty big. Listen, I've talked to a few of these kids. I've talked to other reporters who talk to these kids. They'll tell you. Sometimes it's just as simple as where you play and the damn jersey on your back. At least that used to be more common. Now it's NIL, and can you get me to the league? So who knows? I mean, the 2026 class, pretty strong in the state of Arkansas. We'll see if they can take advantage. This 25 class, you missed on some kids, but, you always do. You hate missing out on the in-state kids, which is becoming way too common, at least on the ones that you really want, right? Can't do that for this 26 class. Go look at that 26 class. It's freaking loaded. And you've got to show we could put a good product on the field and we can get you to the league. We can get you good NIL deals. It's not like – I think often we look at things with the fan hat on. We look at things through the eyes of a fan and not through a recruit. Yeah, they barely won today. But you know what they were probably paying attention to if you're a wide receiver? You know what they were paying attention to? How many targets and what was Armstrong's stat sheet? How good did Armstrong look? What's his draft stock? That's what they're looking at. And, yeah, they want to be a part of a good product. They want to be a part of a good team. It's not all dollar signs. I would agree. It's probably mostly dollar signs. Again, when you're talking about NIL, but they want a coach, they want a staff, they want an offense, they want a defense that's going to put them in the best position to excel beyond the college game, beyond the NIL. A lot of these kids, I would argue a vast majority of them all believe if they're getting recruited by Power 2 conference, SEC, Big 10, and even the ACC or the Big 12, even those conferences as well, if they're being recruited by those programs, then they believe, you know what, I've got a shot at the NFL. So they want to be in a position, they want to go somewhere that's going to blow that up for them, right? That's going to put them in the bright spot, put them in a place where they're going to excel and they're going to get the attention and they're going to get drafted. They're going to make big numbers. They're going to get signed big checks, right? Who wouldn't? Hell, if I had kids, that's what I'd tell them. Like, look, who's going to do the best thing for NIL and who's the best fit for you and your abilities. Recruiting is a very complicated. You think you know one thing, you're hearing about this kid committing, and then especially again now with NIL, it could change like that. I've had to hold on to stuff that I've had before for weeks because I'm told, oh well, you know what? Hold on, this kid might flip, or this school's getting involved with NIL. I'm told that you read that a lot on my phone. I read that a lot on my phone. You won't, but I will. You're not reading my phone. But it's very complicated. And when fans see games like this, they go, oh, well, what player would want to be a part of this? But I guarantee you, a quarterback, a receiver, they're watching what happened with those individual positions. They're watching the plays unfold. They want to know that they're going to fit into that offense, and that's going to put them in the best position possible to make it to the league. And then if it doesn't, you go to that school, you sign, I could just transfer anyways. That's what makes things even more complicated. Anyways, I could go on and on. I've kept up with recruiting for years. I've had the opportunity to talk to recruits' families, other media folks, local, just about how this all works. And for the last 4 or 5 years, I've learned a lot. And it isn't you've learned to take the fan glasses off and realize players look at this thing a little bit differently. Tennessee might be number one soon. Well, if Georgia can't take care of business against Kentucky, they just showed a player going to the tent there. Oh, no, he's actually on his way to the locker room. That's not good. Anyways, all right. We've talked about a little bit of everything tonight. Wasn't really expecting to talk about recruiting, but I find it fascinating. And, the next 2 games are the most important games of the season, says Arkansas Sports Network. Yeah, by the way, I don't know if you got you probably did. I'm assuming that's Brad Caldwell. I don't know what was going on. OBS would not connect with Facebook, so I'm going to try and get this live over on ASN. Technology, man. It did finally go up, and then it wouldn't go live. I don't know what the deal was. Gus using KJ straight up as a running back. Well, that's kind of when he was at his best here, though. Yeah, I agree. Next 2 games are huge. This next game against Auburn, huge. We'll see how this all unfolds. It's a big weekend, or it's going to be a big weekend next week. Going to be a big game. We don't have a time yet, or do we? I think we have. I think we have 2:30 or 3:15. So it's going to be another mid-afternoon kickoff. So, all right, that is going to do it. I'll see you guys on Monday. We'll have a clearer picture of what happened. We're going to bring on some guests next week. I appreciate everyone being here. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Shout out to ASN, even though we couldn't get the live working over there tonight. Sponsors, thanks for help making this possible. Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company, affordable outcomes, hundreds of 5-star reviews, better than best results, free estimates, quality parts, same-day services. Give them a call today at 501-244-3667. That's Direct Service Overhead. Insurance Max. They cover business, personal, life, and health insurance, retirement. They shop the best rates for you, covering the state of Arkansas. Why not click on the link, see what they can do for you? Maybe they could save you some money. Again, that's Insurance Max. Link provided down below. Patreon, please consider joining Patreon. Please consider joining it. It helps the channel out. I don't throw ads up on the live until the show's over with. So I'd appreciate it. Yeah, if you want to support a small local independent channel, you want to support a local content creator who's not backed by any major recruiting sites or anything like that, hey, man, you could help out a lot by joining Patreon. The Tusk Talk Patreon. 110 plus currently that are members. You get full access to the Tusk Talk Discord, which also includes portal targets, portal commits, enemy insider, football discussion, all the insider stuff, recruiting. It's all there. And Tusk Talk with Ty Patreon in the Discord section. All right. I'll see you guys on Monday. Have a good rest of your weekend. And yeah, that's it. Hopefully a better showing next weekend, or you could be in some trouble. I'll see you guys next week. Not as laggy this time. Killist 230. Looks like you're going to be the winner. Killist 230. Oh, it's going to be Ramon Shiesty. Ramon Shiesty, congratulations on winning the Dietrich Wise foil card. Badass layout. Even without the cloth. I've just never seen a card like this. I thought this is definitely legendary status. John Goodman or John Haas? Oh, John Haas! Jamal Anderson, foil autograph. Oh, it's Mac! Oh, or is it Megan? Oh! All right, Matt Jones, autograph card. 3, 2, 1. I was like, oh, shit. I don't know how I'm going to get this to her. Ooh, Austin or Thomas? Austin or Thomas? Austin! Damn, over here complaining about people winning.